Hey guys, if you like this content, I would greatly appreciate it if you guys like the video and subscribed to my channel. It helps make these videos worth it going forward. Hey guys, Altcoin Stripper here with a crypto market review. Today I'm going to be reviewing BTC and ETH. As always, this is not financial advice. I'm not an expert. Do your own research. So let's just look at the BTC USD on the 1 week. I mean, this looks pretty bearish overall. This is not really indicative of necessarily a bullish accumulation range. The reason is that you can see a lot of heavy wicks in both directions and lots of volatility with some high sell volume coming in. It's certainly possible that this just is forming a range. I won't say it will not, but this overall price action looks very, very different than what we saw in 2020, where we saw lots of bullish consolidation. For instance, like this right here is classic accumulation right here. You can see that there's not a whole lot of volatility. There's not many crazy wicks and crazy big moves in both directions, relatively speaking. It's just kind of thin, tight candles overall. And the same can be said like for other time periods throughout Bitcoin's price history. Accumulation is just, smaller candles, less volatility, just not much crazy action. Whereas what we're seeing right now, I mean, you're seeing crazy wicks. This is usually more indicative of a market top, at least in the short term. Now, am I saying that Bitcoin's going to go like 20,000? I mean, you never say never with Bitcoin, but I personally would not think that it will go to 20,000 anytime soon. I still think there are many more support levels before that time. However, it's certainly possible that it has topped out in the short term and some lower levels are going to come. Such as 45K, 35K. Those are all possibilities. I'm not going to say it's not. I would like to see 50,000 hold and what have you and other levels, but let's just kind of see. It is possible, as I said before, that Bitcoin is just in this large kind of range overall, and maybe we just see price consolidate within these levels within the next few weeks or months. That's entirely possible too. Big ranges usually happen after big moves, and we saw 2 big moves over 2 weeks ago, and price is kind of just chopping around at this point. Let's just look at BTC USD on the 1 day here. The bullish market structure is still intact for higher highs. As you can see higher highs going on overall. However, the lows recently got lost on the daily, which is obviously not good. So you see a low, higher low, and this right here is a lower low. So this obviously is not very good from a daily market structure perspective. I mean, it's still bullish on the 1 week, of course. It's going to take a little while before the 1 week gets lost. However, you can start to see shifts of market structure and trend changes on lower time frame charts, which is kind of what you're seeing right here. As I said, lower low just established in this area of 47K. This is a lower low from this previous low that I would call around 51K. There are some arguments that this 50K area would not be a really significant low, just because price didn't really spend much time there, as in this is a more significant low back in early March around the 45 to 50K area. Price hung around that area for quite some time, similar to this right here. So I can see an argument for this low really not being super important. And one thing that Crypto Cred really said that has stuck with me is that highs and lows are really visible on a chart. You can really tell when there is a significant low or a significant high just because of the overall price pattern and shape of what the price action looks like. I mean, lows are really kind of, they take a long time to develop in general. What is what I'm trying to say. They're not necessarily just quick spikes down like this area in late March. They take a long time to develop. So if you do not call this a significant low in late March and more denote this late February price action as like the last significant low, then we are still respecting the higher lows. But just like everything else with this type of trading, retail trading, of charting, everything is really subjective. So, it's kind of how you interpret the chart, what you think of in terms of where price is going to go and which levels are significant. So for me personally, I am going to just kind of keep watching. As I said, to me, this still looks like a lower low, but let's kind of see. What we're seeing right now is price kind of hitting this rejection overall around this 56K level. This is fairly common in general. I mean, you'll see kind of this bearish retest happening. I still personally don't think that this is like a bearish market structure on a high time frame chart, so I don't really think this is a market top. However, I do expect Bitcoin to hit higher targets like 75K or 100K or whatever later this year. But in the short term, this looks a little bearish. In my opinion, it's nothing really screams bullish to me. If we start to reclaim some of these levels like 56 or 57K, I think that is going to look pretty good in general. But until that time, it's still just going to be a bearish retest. And you can kind of see this type of price action across many other areas. So for instance, look here. This was a recent dip that we had in late February. As you can see, price dove down. And as price dove down, we'll go to lower time frame charts. This will be a little bit easier to see. Here we go. You can see that price hit this bearish retest at this level here. And it is an area that got tapped over and over again, and price kept rejecting from that level. And I always say this every single market review, but resistance and support gets weaker the more times it's tapped. This area on its first test up in late February 25th, big rejection all the way down to 43K right here. And it comes back up to this level, and it has a higher low around 46 to 47K. And then again, once it taps it for the third time, this area is weaker because it's been tapped already 2 previous times. So less and less bids, or less and less orders in that area. And this is the type of price action that you see overall for this resistance level. If it starts making higher lows, that's usually pretty bullish. So this is kind of what happened right here. But it's also important to understand that price rejected from this 51K area several times. This was a strong resistance area, and it hit a bearish retest and couldn't break through on the first 2 goes. So take that in context with this kind of area. We are seeing similar price action overall, kind of like with this area around 56K again. This is a big supply zone. There are a lot of orders, and price cannot break through here. This is kind of like its first go right here, rejection, and now it's tapping it again, and it's probably going to get rejected again. What I would like to see here is for price to kind of come down, find a higher low, and then break up. Because this was the last significant low back at 47K from the rejection of this 56K, 57K supply zone. So if it hits a higher low, higher than 47K, then this to me would be bullish in the short term. Now, I still don't really think that we're necessarily out of the woods yet, meaning that this is necessarily going to go to like 70K on the next go. This is still very choppy price action overall. I don't necessarily think that, this is a super bullish case. We must buy all dips. I mean, I think 1K or so would be a decent area to buy at, personally. But in terms of this being a super bullish environment, I really don't necessarily think that's true. To me, this type of price action is really taking a little while to develop, which is totally fine. I mean, this area right here, it took several days overall, or really 2 weeks to kind of resolve itself. It wouldn't really surprise me at all to see this kind of thing happen again. Again, after big moves and after big dips, you generally see price taking a while to grind and chop around to find its bottom. And to me, this is kind of what is happening right now. We're seeing good movement for altcoins because it's relatively stable, but if it drops strongly, then I expect alts to dip down. Personally, I would set several bids for altcoins, because if price does dip down something like down to this 50K level, like violently, then I think we're going to see some big moves down for altcoins. But many alts are still looking really good. I still feel that alts will have many of them like have bullish market structures, and many of them are accumulating. So I still feel that alts will have its second run. Let's briefly look at ETHUSD. ETHUSD, I still feel will hit higher than 3,000. I mean, this is kind of an info chart that I did before. We saw accumulation back in late January, and then a 50 or 40% move, depending on where you want to mark the chart, up to 2,000, and then another accumulation, and then one more move up. The ETHUSD chart looks way more bullish than the BTC chart, in my opinion. That's a big reason why I think the ETH BTC chart will actually go higher than the BTC USD chart. ETHUSD still looks great. I think this hits like high or like mid 3,000s, if not higher, within the next few weeks. Certainly think that this still looks way more bullish than Bitcoin. Still healthy volume coming in, still just like a really bullish trend. I mean, higher highs, higher lows across the board. And if I were to look for dips for ETHUSD, 2,500 might be like the area that I'm looking for. It's like the former swing high. And this former swing high, I mean, it's also the swing high back in April as well. So to me personally, I swing trade, so I'm not really super tight on my levels when I'm swing trading. But if you are scalping, you need to have tight levels. But if you're swing trading, you can just be less precise. You can just level in or average in around 2,500 or so, and kind of look around that area, in my opinion. That'd be an aggressive first entry, but certainly something that I would be interested in. If Bitcoin dips even harder, then there's going to be other levels like the 2,350, and if you get lucky, you can get like the 2,100 kind of area. But it's going to take like some pretty big moves from Bitcoin to get to that point, in my opinion. Briefly, ETH BTC. I mean, this is still, I've shown this several times. I did a video specifically on ETH BTC before seasonality. This still looks great. Still think that this is a bullish market structure for the first time since 2018. Still feel that this is going to go to 0.55. It's almost nearly there, and even possibly higher to like 0.8 or so. Check more for my featured video, and you can see more of my explanation for why I think that ETH BTC looks good. I mean, it's still really, really bullish and healthy. So no real trend change, in my opinion, that we can see quite yet. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and good luck.